Joe Scarborough is going to have a fascinating moment on television here. Now, Sam Stein is reporting, and so is John Heilemann on the program, about how the Associated Press has learned that, in fact, the IRS was also looking at progressive groups. Now, the earlier story was they had come up with bucket lists of like Tea Party and other conservatives, patriots, etc., and that they were investigating those, what they called BOLOs. Be on the lookout for these groups. As we reported here on the program yesterday, turns out there was BOLOs for progressives. These are the keywords: Occupy, right? Israel, etc. So in all what they were doing was these different buckets, and the guy who's in charge of the program was a conservative Republican. He testified in front of ISA, and who's a Republican, and he told him, hey, listen, man, it was just so that we can lessen the bureaucracy, and we can get all the Tea Party groups in one place, the progressive groups in another place, and just make it easier on themselves. So Scarborough gets that reporting on the air yesterday and just refuses to believe it or acknowledge it. Watch this awesome piece of television.
As pure numbers go, conservatives were disproportionately targeted, were they not?
Do you know that?
Yeah, exactly. What makes you know that?
Sam?
Do you know? First of all, am I the only one who thought that?
Hold on a second, Sam. So here we are a month or two after this broke, and now you were suggesting, or the IRS is suggesting, that progressives were targeted as much as conservatives? What do you mean, do I know that? I've been reading articles saying that for 2 months now. So do I know if are all of those articles wrong? Is the New York Times wrong? They choose to enforce conservatives more than progressive groups. Every story that I've read in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Huffington Post, every other media outlet suggests that the enforcement was disproportionately focused, John Heilemann, on conservatives.
And Heilemann and Stein kept saying, that's not true. The reporting now is that they focus on them equally. I mean, this dunderhead's like, well, what I read 2 months ago. But Joe, what you read 2 months ago, it turns out not to be the case. We have what is called new evidence from the people who ran the program, that testified. And we now have that. Not only their testimony, but the documents that say investigate, occupy, progressives, etc. Okay? And he said, but I read an article a couple of weeks. But wait, how many times we got to say this, Joe? It's a new article with new evidence. It turns out your story was totally wrong, and it was never a scandal. Can you get it through your very, very thick head? And apparently the answer to that is no. He just can't acknowledge it. It's got to be a scandal. I said it was a scandal, and I don't care what the new evidence is. Never cared about evidence in the first place. It's a scandal, whether it makes sense or it doesn't.